I've got a question for you. Do you keep sabotaging your own debt payoff plan? If so, keep watching for the biggest mistakes people make that ruins their debt payoff and how you can actually avoid them. Number one, this is the one I did, is not tracking your money. I know I've said this over and over, right? But tracking your money, how much money is coming in, how much money is going out, is so essential, right? You've got to make sure you do that all the time. The problem I made, especially when I was financially independent the first time back in 2006, is that I had so much money coming in, I stopped tracking my money. It's like when you have so much air to breathe, you never really think about the breaths you're taking. Well, okay, now I said it, now you're thinking about how many breaths you're taking, right? But you really don't care. It's only when all of a sudden the oxygen's restricted, maybe you're in like a tight, close quarters or you're feeling claustrophobic, then you count every breath, don't you? When the oxygen's gone, you count every breath. When the money's gone, you count every dollar. Well, instead of doing that when it's needed, do it when you want to do it. Start tracking your money right now. I personally love using tools like Mint. Mint's a great app you can use. Also, you can go to mint.com and just do it online, but it's a free resource you can use that actually helps you track your money, make it very automated, helps you be able to do it more efficiently than just using your pen and paper or, better than just an envelopes method, although that could work for you too. But really tracking your money is important. I've noticed this. Anytime somebody starts tracking their money, without a doubt, and this is after coaching hundreds and hundreds of people, what inevitably happens, you find at least $300 to $500 a month just by tracking your money. Not even cutting back on expenses. Because you're aware of your money, it gets better. It's that law of attention. You ever hear that law of attention? Is whatever you put your attention towards will expand and grow. So if you put your attention, on your teeth, for example, start brushing your teeth, you're flossing, things go well, right? If you start paying attention to your kids, they stick around. You pay attention to your spouse, they stick around. You better start paying attention to your spouse, by the way. All those things, they stick around. You pay attention to your money, they stick around too. But whatever you ignore will leave you. You ignore your teeth, they're gonna leave you, right? You ignore your kids, your wife, they'll leave you too. So you gotta start tracking your money right away. I would recommend at least weekly, if not even bi-weekly. So not tracking your money, that's the first mistake. And it's closely related to the fourth one, but stick around because that one, let's just get to some of these other points too, but that fourth one's a biggie. All right, number two, no savings, right? I've talked about this in other videos, talking about the rubber band effect, right? When you don't have savings and you're trying to pay off debt, here's the biggest mistake I see. And this is not because you couldn't have savings. It's usually because you're taking every dollar you can to pay off your debt because you're so emotional about it, right? You hate it so bad that you just want to pay it off as quickly as you can. Well, when you put every dollar towards it, and I've had this personal experience too, you put every dollar towards that debt, guess what happens? Inevitably, something happens in your life where you need that money back. And the problem is this, is that say you put an extra $500 on your car mortgage, you're living out of your car. Maybe you're that debt, that much in debt that you're living out of your car. Now, but let's just say you're paying on your car loan, right? You pay an extra $500 to it. Then something happens, an appliance breaks down. You need to go buy an appliance. I know they're gonna be more expensive than $500, but let's just go with it, okay? $500, you go to the bank and say, hey, I just paid you that extra $500. You didn't require it. Can I get that back? Guess what the bank is gonna say? No, it's our money. Too bad. Go home, sucker. That's what they're gonna say, right? Well, maybe they're not gonna say sucker, but they're gonna say something. They're gonna tell you, no, you can't get that money back, right? Once you've paid it to the bank, it's gone out of your life. It's so much more powerful when you have savings in your control, just in case. This is either an increase of expenses, something unexpected happens. Could be you have to go out of town for an emergency. It could also be an unexpected drop in income. Maybe a paycheck's not as big as you thought it was gonna be. Maybe something had to come out of your paycheck. Maybe you got laid off. You need savings. This is the number one reason I see people sabotage their reason for not having debt, right? Is that they don't have savings. Actually, I shouldn't say it's the number one, it's number two. Number one's at the end, so keep watching. All right, by the way, before we go on to our third mistake, subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate if you did. So definitely hit and subscribe here. All right, number three, this is the big one, is not increasing your income. Here's the great thing is that many people, they want to pay off their debt, right? And they focus on their expenses. Like they start tracking their money and they find ways to reduce their expenses. But the one thing you can't do with your expenses is go down below zero. Right? You can only go down so far before you're living in a cardboard box, and that doesn't really make sense. What do you want to do is find ways to increase your income. Income can be limitless, right? This is one of the biggest ways I was able to get out of my own debt hole when I was over $1 million in debt in the last recession. I got my expenses down. I started tracking my money. I got it down pretty dang low. I had a tiny bit of savings, although it was really hard sometimes, but I started to build up a little bit of a cushion just in case. But then I really had to put all my focus on how do I increase my income? I'll tell you, here's a bonus tip for you. The number one thing I've done to increase my income is always ask this question. In fact, I'll even give you another bonus. The question not to ask is, how do I make more money? Stop asking that question. Instead, ask this. Ask, how can I create more value for the person that's paying me? How can I serve them? How can I solve problems for them? The better of a problem solver or a servant you become for those people, the more value you create for those people, the more you get paid. This is true if you're a business owner. This is true if you have a W-2 job where you feel like you're trapped. I can promise you, and I've seen this time and time again with our clients, is that you can increase your income well. I had one client, I kid you not, he was getting paid 15 bucks an hour, and I told him, ask your boss, what can you do to create more value for him? What can you do to merit yourself a raise? He went to the boss and asked that, and he did those 3 things. The boss says, do these 3 things, I'll give you the raise. He did it. He got the raise. The boss said, but no more, I'm done. Well, guess what? A few months later, the boss walks by his office, comes back, says, wait a minute, how much am I paying you again? And my friend Brian said, I'm making this much. He said, I'm giving you another raise, but no more. Well, several months go by, about a year goes by, and then an opportunity comes up to get a new job, a new position within the company. He, of course, says, what can I do to create value for you to even get this job? They said, well, listen, you've already been doing all these amazing things. You got the job. He went from 15 bucks an hour to almost 30 bucks an hour in just a year and a half by just asking, how can I create value for you? Instead of having this dumb entitled mentality that the rising generations tend to have, which is, you owe it to me, I deserve this. No, you don't. You don't deserve squat. You just need to keep serving. And even if that boss doesn't appreciate you, I can promise you this, some other boss will steal you, snag you up, and get you somewhere else where you will be there. I promise you, it's worked so many times. I even seen a guy working for a bank did this, increased his income by $3,000 or $4,000 a month, okay? Big deal. All right, I would love to hear your thoughts as well. Put in the comments below, how have you increased your income? Is it job hopping, side hustles, certifications, or is it something else? Love to hear these ideas. All right, now as promised, for the 4th and final mistake, the number 1 thing that I see that sabotages people when they're paying off their debt is this. No, I don't mean your fingers. I don't mean your head. It's your head trash, the things inside your head, the things you're doing right now, your belief system, the myths you hold on to. Remember when I mentioned that a lot of times people will not have savings because they think they have to pay it all off. They get so emotionally wrapped up in their debt that they can't wait to pay it off, and they get so caught up into it, they get so desperate to pay it off, it won't work. It's just like this, right? That when you want something so bad or you fear something so badly, you tend to get the thing you don't want, right? It's like dating. You know, if you've ever dated and you ever worried, oh, I don't want to date like my ex-boyfriend or my ex-girlfriend or ex-wife or ex-husband, right? I don't want to get that person again. Inevitably, if you have that fear saying, I don't want that person, those people keep showing up in your life, don't they? Right? It's the same thing, you know, like, oh, the street light better not turn red. Oh, it turned red again, dang it, right? It's that kind of head trash that goes on. In money, it's no different. You know, when you start focusing on having debt, well, guess what? Every time you keep saying, I gotta pay off this debt, I hate my debt, I hate debt, your brain just keeps hearing debt. Guess what your brain wants to keep having more of in your actual life? Debt. Right? It keeps finding more debt. So many times, people don't realize this is more psychological than anything. You gotta control your emotions. You gotta look at this from a very logical standpoint. You gotta take the emotions out. I've had many couples where sometimes they're so emotional about it, I have to tell them, listen, I want you to look at your finances like you're looking at your friend's finances, right? That you're just looking at your friend's finances, it's not yours, you have no emotional attachment at all. Look at it that way. And when they start to look at it that way, they start to step back, they start to think more clearly, and they say, well, here's what I recommend for my friend. And then next thing you know, they can do that for their situation too. You might need to do that for your situation as well. I can promise you that it's a big deal. By the way, if you're trying to pay off your debt, I'm gonna give you a bonus tip. Ignore the interest rate. It's not the interest rate that you need to worry about. Now, there's another video we'll talk about here in a little bit, but cash flow index. Look up Money Ripple's cash flow index. There's a great video there about a way to pay off your debt faster by ignoring the interest rate and looking for actually what frees up the most money too. So there's another extra bonus tip for you that'll even, who knows, maybe that'll even be the biggest thing. Maybe it's bigger than head trash, who knows? But check that one out. All right, guys, if you thought this was great, this is good. But I mentioned income is limitless. So what if we could create passive income to help you pay off your debt too? Check out this next video, how to make $5,000 a month in passive income right now.